Hello and welcome back to another episode of Inside the Asperger Studios. Today's guest has been featured everywhere from doctors to the USA Today, but behind his experience is a powerful personal story of overcoming crippling alcoholism. Dr. Robb Kelly is here to talk about the real causes of addiction, why most treatments miss the mark, and what true recovery actually looks like. So sit back, relax, and grab your favorite beverage, and let's learn more about Dr. Robb Kelly. See you there.
I wanna believe in the truth, but only see what I'm shown. Got the freedom to choose, but can't decide on my own. Follow what the group is thinking, bottle up my intuition till it's popping up.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Inside the Asperger Studios. Today I'm joined with Dr. Robb Kelly. Welcome to the show, Dr. Kelly.
Thank you, Reed. Great to be here. Hey, guys, great to be with you.
So, as always, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Hi, guys. My name is Dr. Robb Kelly. I'm a psychologist, PhD psychologist, PhD behavioral scientist. We deal with addiction, alcoholism. We deal with dementia, anxiety, depression, PTSD, anything to do with how we change the mind and change the brain. We do. So we've been doing it for about 30 years. With about 11,500 patients right now. We do lots of books and TV and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm in San Antonio, Texas. We do have offices around the world though. We have Dallas, we have San Antonio, we have London, Manchester, Spain and Switzerland. And we just enjoy what we do. I mean, we're always coming up against something that the medical fraternity has let down. And we're into trial and testing everything we come across, and every new illness or ailment that we come across, finding a cure. So the latest one we've taken on is dementia. So 9 months ago, we had 3 ladies come to us with dementia. I wanted to work with them because we have this new software that we're using that reprograms subliminally messages and stuff, and mind and brain. And we've seen a 13% increase in short-term memory.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
such a great improvement.
Yeah. But that's what we
Now,
do.
go on.
That's what we do. We enjoy. We do what we love because we love what we do.
That's such a good statement. Now, one of the things you do is you deal with addiction, especially when it comes to autism. And as you and I know, it goes almost hand in hand at times because when you're somebody who's autistic, the world looks at you differently and it kind of pushes you that way because you get depressed. And with depression comes addiction. You either go to drugs or you go to drinking. What is your take on that and how do you handle that?
So the quickest way to get something to go insane is to take their identity off them and isolate you. So we saw that with COVID, obviously. But yeah, I mean, I've worked with people with Asperger's. I've worked with people at all sorts of on the spectrum, which I'm sure I am, by the way. I'm not being tested. I'm pretty sure I'm on that spectrum, just the way I act and stuff like that. So yeah, isolation, number one. So when we're different, people push us away and we feel different. 80% of the problem with people that are different is they believe they are different. And 20% treat them like they're different. Because we have this underlying either trauma from childhood or learned behavior from parents that you have this, so you will always expect this or not to expect this, and we carry that through life. One of the guys we work with Asperger's, 23 years old, never had a girlfriend, hid away, won't leave his parents' house. Today he's married, he has 2 children, he has a great job. And, you know, it's all about looking at what's causing it and the base root cause of it, which is usually childhood trauma that affects people in later life. So, yeah, see if we can get people out, if we can get more people understanding. If I had an open mic right now to the world, and being brave here, Reed, I'd say 80% of people suffer from some kind of spectrum, you know, and I think Asperger's is where alcohol used to be in the 50s and 60s. Very misunderstood. Alcoholism, sorry, very misunderstood, shoved in the wardrobe so nobody can see you. And again, just, you know, can't leave home, nobody understands you.
Mhm.
Getting better out there, I know it is.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head right there. I mean, one of the things I think back in the day is people all thought Asperger's was one thing, and they only knew that from watching the movie Rain Man. They go, "Oh, that's what Asperger's is like." So they pictured that. Fast forward to 2025, and you realize it's nothing like that.
Yeah.
There are several levels on the spectrum, and then there's severe autism where you almost have a mind of a well, you have the mind of a child and you need care. How do you treat those who are like that to those who are more like me, who are high functioning?
I think the sort of treatment here is exactly the same. It's about changing the way the brain reacts and changing the patterning in the brain is what we've seen. So we have many, many tools and software that we use here. Um, so with 11,500 patients with a 98% success rate, before anybody comments at home, please go Google me. We're quite sure that once a lot of illnesses, spectrum or not, are created from a couple of things: lack of oxygen, uh, food that we eat today, and childhood trauma. Once we can get all them three uncovered, discovered, and discarded, then we can get to the real person. If people around you, like family, once the diagnosis has happened, treat you in a certain way, then everybody, including yourself, treats you in a certain way. And I think we should get rid of that. I don't think whether you're high performing or not, everybody has the chance to fully recover. And that's another brave statement, but we have the figures and software to prove that. Unfortunately, today in the medical fraternity and the pharmaceutical fraternity, everybody wants to fix something with a pill.
Hmm.
Put a pill, as long as you can do this, and there's money in you. You're kind of an asset to the pharmaceutical companies. What we do is we don't believe psychologically and psych only in medication to cure certain illnesses. Now, if you have a heart problem, keep taking them heart meds, guys. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about all the ailments that we have that we run with as a child. So experiments around that. We went back to England some 12 years ago or something, and we heard of this experiment, but we experiment everything ourselves before we take it out to the community. And that was, we got a schoolmaster who was our friend from college. He was his school was between, I think it was 8 and 11 years old. And we asked them, could we come in and have this written test that your pupils could take, and that we would be able to find out who the three smartest people are in your school that's going to go on to be captains of industry and stuff like that. And he said, that's silly, Rob, that's impossible. He said, well, we'd love to try it. So he took it to the board. The board came back really interested. Let's do it. So we did. We took it round. They did all the tests. There was about, I don't know, 10, 15 children there. And then we said to the headmaster, we'll be back tomorrow to tell you who the top three is. And sure enough, we're back tomorrow. And headmaster was all excited, and we named them. Can't remember their names, but let's say it's Jimmy. And the headmaster went, Jimmy? I said, yeah, Jimmy. Who else? Bill? Okay. And then Sarah. Wow. Okay. And we was assuring them, these are geniuses that fought before their time. We'll be back in 1 year's time to see how our guys are doing. With no communication in between was agreed. We went back a year to the day and we asked the headmaster, how's our three pupils doing? And he was like, oh my goodness, Dr. O, I don't know how you've done this. We need to go to the government. This is absolutely insane what you've done. How did you do it? So, well, actual fact, we threw all the papers away. We never looked at the papers, and we chose three random people from your school, three random kids. And because we told you they were geniuses, so you treated them like geniuses, so they
Hmm.
become geniuses. And I
So
think
almost, so it's almost like the placebo effect. You tell them
correct.
something, you give them that seed, and then they turn around and they treat them like that.
See, the brain doesn't know the difference between the truth and the false. The mind controls the brain, not the other way around. So mind over matter. The brain is the energy. You can't see it, but it's over the matter. Mind over matter. So, if we can control the mind before we get up, or just after we get up, sorry, in the morning, then we can program our brain for an absolutely amazing day. But we've got to get rid of, for me only, guys, of labeling. It's in the family, so you obviously are gonna, what we tell each other is very important. What we say to each other is life or death. I mean, look at Karen Carpenter, another fine example, God bless her, of somebody calling her fat and overweight when she was really pretty skinny, and she died of anorexia nervosa. It's what people tell us we believe. People on the spectrum, just because you're different doesn't mean you're not geniuses.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. We really do need to eliminate labels because when somebody gets labeled, they become more focusing in on themselves and want to fix it. You eliminate that label, then there's nothing for them to want to fix. They go on living their life. If you eliminate the label and just have that person diagnosed and say, "Hey, listen, you are autistic, you have AD or have ADHD or whatever, but you are no, you are you. You're not, you can live your life without fear, without being judged. Only you should know what you are. Don't tell anyone else and just go on living your life and you'll see how successful you become."
I love that. I love that. It's like, the preconception that we have about autism, for instance, and alcoholics is that we're down and out, we'll never be any good. Yet the Rain Man is a perfect example. What we should be doing is transforming the program and of the mind, that is, and the information that we give out, because everybody is capable of doing anything in the world. So how we treat people is different. Everybody's different. We're in Texas. One of the best quarterbacks, I believe, I don't know, was Tony Romo from the Cowboys. He's different. Such and such a body from New York Jet. Every single person that's achieved something is different to the normal guy.
Mm-hmm.
And when you put that spin on it, you could see people go, "What? Yes." Stop letting people throw your ailment at you for you to act out on that. Because with the patients we have with Asperger's, they jump back to that all the time. "Well, I've got Asperger's, so that's just it." Because mom and dad used to let him get away with murder because he had Asperger's, and it was always an excuse. Whenever he wanted anything, he would pull that card out.
Mm-hmm.
And we told him, if you keep pulling that card out, you will suffer from Asperger's the rest of your life.
I mean, it's the same situation no matter how you look at it. You have autism. It's a disability. It's not an excuse.
Oh,
It's not an excuse to act the way you act. It's not an excuse to do horrible things to people. It's a disability. It's not there for you to use it to get out of jail free card. It's a disability. You shouldn't use it as an excuse. And I used to be that way at one point in my life. I used to say, "Hey, I'm autistic. This is why I do what I do." And people are like, "I know people that are autistic and they don't act like you." And I'm thinking, "Yeah, but everybody's different." And then as I got older, I realized I'm using it as an excuse and I shouldn't.
yeah.
It's defining me, but it's not making me who I am.
I think with Asperger's as well, that we lose our true identity, because
Mhm.
obviously the brain reacts differently, and our behavior is different with Asperger's, or on any kind of scale. But I think our identity is tied up in that. It's like most people's identity is tied up in their job, tied up in their marriage. So when they get divorced or lose the job, they don't have an identity of their own because it was tied up with, "Hey, hi, John. Yeah, I work for, Jimmy's of California," or something like that. I think again, we've got to carefully look at how the brain and the patterning reacts around internal dialogue, because that's the important thing, internal dialogue. So for me, I think it would be interesting with all the trials and tests we've done, is what if at a very young age, children or a child was diagnosed with Asperger's, but you didn't tell them that. You just went forward in life. I would love to see the reaction. My niece and nephew have Asperger's, uh, but they didn't tell them. Now they have certain problems that they need to get over, obviously, especially the behavior problems. But when you're telling something you have an ailment or disease, then the mind plays to that, whether we like it or not, we play to it. So again, the placebo effect is very powerful.
People don't realize it's a very powerful effect, the placebo. I mean, many times I mean, the best example of the placebo effect was I about, oh God, several years back, right before COVID hit, like 2020, I did a clinical research trial, and it was for a drug for autism for communications. It was a double blind. So I didn't know if I was on the medicine or not, but all my family knew is I was a totally different person. I was acting better. And then I didn't know until the end when I was talking with the psychiatrist that ran it. I'm like, so was I on it in the beginning or not? He's like, no, you were a placebo. You were on the pill at the end, and the end happened at the beginning. And I'm like, really? So I changed because I thought I was on the pill in the beginning, and it was nothing more than a sugar pill.
Wow. Wow. I love that. Wow. Is that crazy?
It is crazy because the mind perceives that
Mm.
your mind wants you to think you're on the pill, and it kind of says, okay, this is the pill. This is how am I supposed to be?
Yeah, yeah. And again, how do we learn? How do we learn things as kids? Mom and dad tell us, or caregivers, or teachers eventually tell us, is what we become. So the kid in the classroom was told he'll never be any good because I mean, my era, that's what people used to say.
Hmm.
Usually never turn out any good. It's like I think when Lorna Wing first diagnosed, I think it was 1976, uh, Asperger's or any kind of disorder like that. Um, I think this, I don't know whether the studying was not intense or whether it was too early for a diagnosis, but it's like ADHD. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that everybody who takes Adderall has ADHD. I just know it's a drug, it's an amphetamine stimulant, and that's why everybody wants to take it. But all of a sudden they're labeling themselves because if you label yourself as ADHD and you can't concentrate or keep still, the doctor prescribes it for you. But have you noticed that ADHD, long after the prescription has stopped, are still acting and they're still telling people they have ADHD? Well, my personal, I'm going to upset a lot of people here, Reed. My personal opinion, there's no such thing as AD. It was made up by pharmaceutical companies who just wanted to earn trillions of a medication that, I mean, attention deficit. I mean, the word attention deficit, ADHD is not a deficit. If anything, it's an overload. We see it's an overload. So it's interesting as a child. Now, obviously, there are certain aspects of the ailment that acts out. I mean, it will if you've been diagnosed, but I think there's a lot of things we can do psychologically, behavioral, subliminally, where we can change away from that thought patterns, that patterning of I'm a, and therefore the behavior. I'm sure there's a lot of work to be done around that comes true. But the problem is in England and America is the pharmaceutical companies run the world. So
Hmm.
the pharmaceuticals gets us sick and the pharmaceutical companies keep us sick. So unless, I mean, if you got well, can you imagine if somebody actually was cured of Asperger's? Imagine how much damage that person would cause in the pharmaceutical industry. So we're not having that. This is for life. You can't cure from ADHD. Well, we've cured any kind of addiction. not alcoholism, but we've cured. We know how the brain works. We have certain tools that we use. You're a different person. Actual fact, when you come here, you're not only your mind is changes, but your gene spectrum changes. So your DNA changes ever so slightly. Because again, like you said, the mind is very powerful. You know, if you believe and really understand, you will become just like the school teachers.
Let's talk about addiction for a minute. What unique challenges do you see when autistic individuals are battling addiction compared to those who aren't, the neurotypical clients?
Well, obviously, addiction is so alcoholics are born and drug addicts are made. Alcoholics have a predisposition. We're allergic to the ethanol in alcohol, and three parts of the brain differ to any other addiction in the world. But let's go to drug addiction. I mean, it just emphasizes the problem is once someone has a disorder, mine was nerves, mine was never fitting in my mind. I was a brilliant musician when I was on stage playing professionally at the age of 9 with my auntie and uncle. And it worsens it. If I have anything wrong, depression, Asperger's, and I take liquid or whatever it is, drugs into my system, and I feel better, well, that's the cure in my mind. So I'm going to keep taking and taking it. So what happens is the drug addiction becomes the major illness, and not Asperger's becomes the disorder. So yeah, it's worse than ever. Can that stuff? Can addiction be cured? Yeah, of course it can. Of course it can. You know. Now, when I came, our research is. I don't mind saying this myself. Go Google me. My research is 10, 20 years ahead of everybody else in what we do. That's why we have such a high success rate. Once you've studied like we've studied, anything is possible. Once you understanding the neuroscience and the quantum physics behind how we think, how we act, and how we behave, then we think sky's the limit. But first of all, let's cure the addiction. Let's cure the drug addiction. And again, we've not done any tests, but it'd be really interesting, Reed, to find out if somebody came to us with Asperger's and drug addiction, but drug addiction had taken over, once cured of the drug addiction, how that person would react. Because the drug addiction was now the problem and not the Asperger's being a problem. Because we know millions of people who act just like normal people, but they have certain behaviors that are different to other people, and certain genius is part of the brain that are different to other people. And I think we should start using that to our advantage, not as a disadvantage.
Now, do you think masking, which many autistic people do to fit in, can make it harder to identify when addiction is part of that picture?
I think so, yeah. I think, I mean, addiction is, a drug addiction is the addictive personality. 90% of people that come to us with a drug addiction on heroin, meth, crystal, whatever it is, started in the doctor's office. So if you're taking something to fit in, and once that fitting in drug takes over, then you're no longer fitting in with the crowd you do, but you sat at home doing nothing or in your bedroom smoking meth all day, then obviously we have a problem. So again, it comes down to the people you surround yourself with. If you surround yourself with 9 depressed people, then you will become the 10th. If you're successful, any ailment, you will take on that ailment and believe what they tell you is wrong with you. I mean, I don't know about you, but many times someone comes up and goes, "Oh my God, Rob, you don't look too good. Are you ill? Are you okay?" My mind starts feeling sick. And all of a sudden my temperature rises. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm okay. I start to question it. Well, really, in real life, I'm perfect. I'm having an amazing life and there's nothing wrong with me, because somebody's asked me, start to go in all directions and my mind starts spinning. It's crazy.
Now, you've used neuroscience and positive psychology in recovery coaching. How do you tailor these tools for someone who processes the world differently because of autism?
I think a lot of drugs and alcoholics see the world different. So that's the commonality, I think, here. Asperger's and alcoholism and drug addiction to a certain degree. I think knowledge is the key,
Hmm.
and I think we lack knowledge in addiction. The world lacks knowledge of what addiction and alcoholism is. And so Asperger's is in that circle with them, unfortunately. I think the understanding, I think that once we get down to the fundamental drug problem or the fundamental drinking, then what lies beneath? So if we're suffering from Asperger's and parents and doctors and teachers start acting as different, then learned behavior from that enmeshment from parents and school teachers will again go back to us behaving that way because we're almost brainwashed of how we're supposed to act. Getting somebody with addiction, alcoholism coming in with both diagnoses. For us, the treatment's the same. For us, it's a 90-day period that you'll be cured of any addiction. But I would give you your money back. We're the only company in the world that will refund your money if we fail. We haven't failed. So yeah, I think the understanding and the knowledge we have today, nobody's taking on, nobody cares. A well person in America and England is of no good to anybody because they can't put you in a treatment center, give you drugs, tell you you're special and sit you in the corner. I mean, back in my day, in the early 70s, there wasn't any such thing as Asperger's. So the people who maybe suffered from Asperger's got stuck in what we call the dunce class, which was the special lessons for people who either can't keep up or were too slow. In actual fact, that's not the case. So then you behave as if you are the dunce, which dunce in England, I'm not sure you have that word over here, but obviously silly, stupid, uneducated. That's what dunce mean. But if you're surrounded by people who are telling you that, then you'll become that person.
Now, I want to talk about something important. That is, that those of us who are autistic, we thrive on routine and predictability. How do you use structure in recovery coaching without making it feel rigid or restrictive?
Very good question, Reed. Oh my God, I do thousands of these a year, and that's probably the best question. So
Thank you.
yeah, so everything's in a pattern all the time. Everything is repeated all of the time. If you go to work down the local freeway where you are, it gets you there, you know it, you're not going to change it, even though you've heard there's a wreck on I-35, you're still going to go down it because you're not up to anything else. So the idea of repatterning heavily relies on subliminal messaging. So subliminal messaging is the key to everything. So not only do I have what's called the breath box, it's another company with 9-dimensional software that headphones are on and you hear all these subliminal messaging, but by using subliminal messages in sessions, we can put anybody into a routine and make it fun. Like if you get up in the morning, and this is what we tell everybody when they start here. Get up in the morning, what do? Well, I go restaurant or coffee, I get a shower. Okay, tomorrow, first of all, let's get some great oxygen inside you. We only breathe 45% of our lung capacity. The presence of oxygen equals the lack of disease, mentally and physically. So I want you to take 20 exaggerated breaths in and out. Really make them silly faces when you do it. And then, this is what we're telling them, come into the bathroom, okay? If you brush your teeth with your right hand, try a left for a week and then right and then left a week, just for a month. Well, that's funny. You ever tried to brush your teeth with the opposite hand? It's crazy. You can't really, usually we're brushing our teeth, looking in the mirror, listening to the radio, shouting to the wife. Well, this takes concentration. It really does. So that's called our mirror work. And then the validation of who you are in the mirror is very, very powerful. So what that does is we think that people see us. Like when we get up to the mirror, guys shaving, women putting makeup on, you see all your blemishes. That's not how people see you. When's the last time you were in the office, guys? Hey, Jimmy, great. We don't do that. So when you stand the magical 6 feet away, all the blemishes go. That's how people see you. So if they do them 3 before they go out, we just repattern that, and then what made it fun. So they'll fall into that pattern real easy.
That reminds me of something. There used to be a commercial back in the day for Dove where they had 5 or 6 people sit down in front of a sketch artist and they go, okay, describe yourself. and the people are sitting there, and then he turns this photo around, and it's nothing what the person describes. People perceive themselves one way, but when other people see that, what people see is not what they see.
Right.
There's a book out there called The Cube. I came across this a long time ago, and basically what it is it gets people to describe themselves without asking the question, describe yourself, by using um descriptive things like you're in this plain of sand of a desert, there's a cube, describe it. So they're describing the cube, but what they're doing in reality is putting their attributes on the cube without any knowledge of it whatsoever.
I love that. Got to look at that.
Now, I want to talk about something very important, that is trauma. A lot of those of us who are autistic or ADHD or any kind of disability have dealt with trauma one way or another, if it's from the family or if it's some kind of thing. You've talked about trauma being at the core of the addiction. How does trauma show up differently for autistic clients, and
Real
how does it
close.
shape your work with them?
Hello. Oh, you froze down for a minute, Reed. Go back to the trauma thing you were asking me.
All right, so I'll repeat that question again. I said, you've talked about trauma being at the core of addiction. How does trauma show up differently for autistic clients, and how does it shape the way you work with them?
The main problem with trauma is people don't know they have trauma, first of all. The trauma that you realize or you remember is not the trauma, because that's recalled memory from the
Hmm.
past. That wasn't pleasant. Trauma is hidden deep in the subconscious brain. So people with any kind of ailment or illness, especially autism, stuff like that, and addiction, is we are very sensitive people. This is where it really gets interesting. Back in the day, molestation and stuff with children was normalized. But because I feel different and more sensitive, then it has more of an effect on me. Anything that makes me look different will have a psychological effect on me as a human being. So we go down to what we call childhood trauma, deep childhood trauma, that's rooted in what's been said, what's been done, what's happened around you. If you think trauma is a plane crash or a car crash or a divorce, it's not. That's number one on the scale. We need to get to 100 on the scale. So childhood trauma, everybody has it. And those people that are adamant they don't, yours is probably worse than ever because, again, it's been normalized. So you don't know it's trauma. But when you're 30 or 40 or 50, the patterns that you can't keep a job, you can't get a girlfriend, you can't do this is all back to something that happened during childhood with that trauma happened. That's hidden deep in the subconscious brain. For us, treatment is exactly the same. We don't, we don't look at different illnesses and ailments and diseases when we treat. We treat one and all. It doesn't discriminate. I mean, you might have an ailment or an illness or a behavioral problem, especially cognitive, that you don't even know you have until we get into the trauma work. So trauma work, again, is all about uncovering, discovering, discarding of what's happened in the past. So I was working with a guy in a state who was probably the richest man in that state. And I was working with his son who suffered badly from abandonment, shame, fear, depression, anxiety, and alcoholism.
Hmm.
I asked him, he said, I don't have any of those. I have a great family. I have a great life. You know, my dad bought me a Porsche on my 16th birthday, da, da, da. And I said, okay, well, what's dad like, the relationship with dad? And he said, oh, dad, I get to see him on Sunday between 2 and 3 p.m. What? He's working very hard. So there's the abandonment issue straight away. And that's the emotionally unavailable from a parent. That's scarring to the
Hmm.
core. These things that we don't know, but the treatment is exactly the same, is to reprogram around anything that's happened in the past and get rid of it, uncover it, discover it, discard of that piece of trauma. And like I said, some people are more sensitive to traumas. So true story, me and my brother, probably 8, 9, 10 years old, were stood on the kitchen table and we're playing around and laughing. I think we had swords or something. And my mum walked in. My brother doesn't suffer from anything. My mum walked in and she said to both of us, "Will you get down off that table, you idiots? Get down before your dad gets in." That's exactly how she said it. My brother jumped down straight away and I froze. And this is why I went back and really did some deep research around this. What I heard, "You're a stupid idiot," is what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Oh my goodness, why did I hear that?" And what? So these people that are born with these ailments and diseases might take a long time to come to fruition, but the behavior and the actions are there in childhood.
Now, do you notice differences in how autistic individuals experience triggers, cravings, or relapse compared to others?
Autistic human beings are the smartest people in the world. I want to put that out there. Okay. The smartest people in the world. But they will tell you a difference, so they keep it all to themselves. I would love to do an experiment with the guy that runs Apple, Google, all the big guys, and see if they're on the spectrum. I bet they are. I've never known anyone come in here with that ailment that's not been the smartest guy in the room. There's nothing more than grounding a clever mind, or buffing down the learning process with a clever mind by separating the person away from normal people, if there's any such thing as normal people. So it's the understanding that when you come here, you are treated no different to the average patient. We will find you jobs. We will, help you look for cars, rent it, whatever it needs to do to put you in the normal or the normality, is that a word, of everyday life. And I think that plays we know it plays a big part of anybody getting well. There's the understanding, we need more education, of course, and then the labeling, and then the belief, and then the actions, and again, who we hang around with. If somebody who has autism hangs around with 20 people who have autism, they're tied into that trauma bonding. And trauma bonding is very, very powerful. I mean, AA meetings, these meetings that we go to for different ailments and diseases, because we bond with them, but it's really trauma bonding. You don't really get around and have like 20 absolutely amazing stories that's happened since they found out the diagnosis, or they changed this program, or got into this patterning. It's usually all about the illness. And once you concentrate on, that's what the mind will do. So guys at home, do me a favor, look around the room now where you are when you hear this, and count how many black things you can see. So right now I can get a board, my TV's black, I've got 4 or 5 certificates, my fans, the things that we use to speak to each other, intercoms are black, my blueberries are black right now, and I have a black computer here. Now close your eyes and go through them one at one. Think about them. So we're there, we got this, we were there. How many red things did you see in that room? Well, not. I was looking for the black things. Correct. Open your eyes. Oh my God, there's like 20 things around me. Exactly. So if we're narrowed into a certain belief and understanding, we're not seeing what's here because we're not supposed to. Guys with Asperger's, guys with Down syndrome, we're not supposed to do this. My answer to all them guys, he says who? Asperger's, alcoholism, addiction, smartest guys in the room. By far the smartest guys in the room. And once they get well, they go on to do some amazing things. They have that addiction personality that will succeed in anything that they do. That's what we should be talking about, Reed, out there. Just like you are trying to better the situation. We should be talking about that. How powerful are these guys once we understand and get rid of what's causing it, once we cure them of A, B, and C. How powerful are those guys? And you'll find out, as you already know, that you guys are very powerful.
I mean, that reminds me of there was this special on TV a while back, and they were trying. It was about the mind and how the mind plays tricks on you and everything. And it's like, okay, we want you to focus on this crowd. And then you're focusing on the crowd, and then afterwards they come back and they go, okay, did you notice the man running across the crowd in an elephant costume? No, I didn't see it. Okay, then they replay it, and then you see it. And then they're like, that's because your mind was told to focus on one thing. You weren't focusing on anything else.
We should always be aware. I don't care what disease you have psychologically. Um, we must always be aware of what's around us.
Yes, I mean that's why they always say that's
Yeah,
why one of the biggest things is they say you need to be in the now. You need
100%.
you need I mean one of the things about meditation is they always talk about how they want you to be in the now, how people are so carried away with everything else going on in their lives. The minute they get up off their seat, they don't think about that the fact they're getting up. They're thinking about five other things going on.
Yeah.
They're not thinking about the now.
You can forget a disease. You can forget that you're sick. You can forget that you're a certain way once you have pattern and belief when you get up in the morning. You see, my biggest get up in the morning thing for me, whose life can we save today? God, give me a life I can save today. That's all I'm asking for. The rest is going to come if I want something, it's going to come if I'm doing the right thing. But yeah, if you were to hold a gun at my head now, God forbid, I would not be able to tell you what I am on tomorrow. 6 p.m. tonight, and I know everyone can't do this, guys. It could be your mom or your wife, though. She will text me my day tomorrow. Because right now, I'm not interested in my day tomorrow. I'm interested in the day today. I'm enjoying my time right now at 11:41 Central Time. Speaking to you right now is amazing. I'm not thinking about lunch. I'm not thinking about what happened this morning. It's enjoying that moment. And if more people did that, a lot of ailments that we suffer from disappear. They disappear.
I
Because when
mean,
you're in the now, you can't think of yesterday. When you're in the now, you can't even think about tomorrow. When we're in the now, everything's good. And if you think about it, guys, all we have is the now.
mhm.
We don't even get to guarantee tomorrow. We don't know what it's going to bring. So why not concentrate on today? When we do bring our focus down today, and this is the killer, guys, time slows down. Because
That's
we
why when you're
time.
walking with somebody, time slows down because you're focusing on that conversation between you and that person.
Correct. Correct. We must stop doing that every day. We go out for a mile walk every single day at a certain time. We make sure we've got no patients, no podcast, anything like that. And we all walk as a team a mile. And then we walk back again. And somebody asks, is this to get fit? And I went, no. It's to generate mindsets is what it's about.
I mean, that reminds me when I was in college,
Mm.
for my master's in England, my disability advisor set me up with a therapist, and because I was so worried about everything, I was nervous. And the first thing she says to me is that we sit down, she's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I'm worried about everything, what's going on with my family back home. I'm worried about if I pass my classes." She's like, "Here's what I want you to do. I want you to focus on the now. Don't worry about what's gonna happen. Don't worry about your family. Focus on yourself in the now." And then she gave me what's called the worry tree. And basically, what it is you need to only focus on what you have control over. If you have no control over it, don't worry about it. Because otherwise, it's gonna slow you down.
And when you start worrying about other people, see, one of the biggest things I did uh, as an adult only about 5 years ago, so I was late into my 50s, is I stopped giving a shit what people thought about me. I'm different. I am different to any. I mean, if you see me in a normal, see my videos now, and right now I've got orange pants on, pink shoes. I've not really got this on. I've got a stupid, well, what some people call stupid pattern shit. I don't care what people think about me, and it's a hard place to get. But once you start worrying about that stuff, we have a 7.3. This is our trials and test again. We have a 7.3 time frame where if I'm sat on the couch tonight, guys, I have a big can of Coke and a big bag of chips. I don't eat or drink any of those, but let's say I did. I'm laid back, getting all stuff in my mouth. The wife's next to me, and all of a sudden, for whatever reason, I see Arnold Schwarzenegger come past me on the TV, and I turn to my wife and I go, "Hey, I'm thinking of going to the gym tomorrow." Like, I'm not going to the gym. She knows it. Even the two dogs know it. The cat's even walking by going, "I don't think so." But in the first 7.3 seconds of me saying that, if I go to the bedroom, get my sneakers, my shorts, my t-shirt, I'll walk it to the door that I'm going to walk out or put it in my car. There's a good chance of me going the next day because it's time now. Do it now. So if you want to ask that girl out or that guy or buy that house, the car, you want to start it now. Do you want to start a business? Don't think it. Start it now. Get a website. Go on GoDaddy. $10. Get a website. 50 cards for like $2 of Vistaprint, and do it now. Do a landing page today now. And your life will change, man. Don't focus on what you have. Focus on what you want and how you can change other people's lives with that. That's what's needed in this world. People are doing the right thing with the right treatment. Money will come. Don't worry about that. Whether you believe in God, Uncle Jimmy, Spirit, whatever you believe in, it will happen. I've never seen it not happen. But you've got to get away from these self-consuming thought patterns and behavior that we do every single day. It's killing us.
I mean, that's one of the biggest things I've wrote about. I wrote a book just recently, and it's in editing right now, but it's one of the most important messages people can read. It's basically, it follows my life and everything I've done, but the message is the most important one, and that is you need to step out of your comfort zone. Your story doesn't start till you're outside of your bubble. That's where everything begins to happen.
It really does, It reminded when you said that about step out of the comfort zone with one of the Asperger's patients that we had. I think he was 23 years old, never had a girlfriend, no confidence, all the stuff that usually goes with that kind of disease. And he loved his Mustangs. So what I did is I went to a friend of mine who owns an Irish bar in Dallas, Texas. And it's called Trinity Hall. And I went to him and said, "Hey, can I set like 10 actors in here really early, like 4 o'clock, so it's empty?" And he said, "Yeah, why?" I said, "I don't want to tell you yet, but I'm doing an experiment." And he's like, "Of course you can." Yeah. So we hired, I don't know, 10, 12, 14 models, actor models. And the idea was you sit down in couples or 3 or whatever, and you just have drinks. We buy all the drinks. If you want food, we'll buy all the food. Just sit there. We'll give you $100 each. Thank you for your time. Now, the idea is I'm taking this guy to the pub. "Hey, you want to like an early dinner or something?" "Oh, yeah, that'd be fantastic." So he gets to this bar, and we're both having these, none of us drinks, so we're both having these drinks. And I just said to him, "If you look around this room now and you could date anybody in here, just for fun, just anybody in here, who would you date?" And he looked around and he was like, "The blonde girl back there." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." So I grabbed his hand all of a sudden. Now, these girls were told, if we sit down at your table, he's into Mustang cars. Here's what you do. You say, "Hey, hi." I'll say, "Hey, can we sit down with you? We're going to buy some food. You can share it." You say yes. And then I start the conversation off, I'm going to ask this guy to just say a little thing. And what you're going to say is, what the girl's going to say is, "Hey, I've got to nip downstairs in a minute to fill that meter. I don't want my Mustang being towed." Well, as soon as he heard I got a Mustang as well. So we sat down and it all went well. And the Mustang, they were talking, the thing in common, not a difference. It wasn't Asperger against normal. They had this Mustang cars that they love. They talked and we slipped away, me and the other girl, and they talked for hours, man, hours. And then when he come away the next day, I met him and I said, "How did that feel?" "I can't believe it was so easy, so easy." That's the guy who's married with 2 children right now and runs his own successful business because I put him in a position that made it simple for him, even though it was staged. He didn't know that. He just knew, "God, I want to just go start." He told me, "I must. Oh my God, it's easy." That's how we dealt with that situation.
That reminds me of a really amazing story about myself. I had went early last I think this year actually to a podcast. No, 3 years ago to my very first podcast conference in Vegas, no doubt. And in my head, I kept thinking, I'm just going to be this shy person. I'm not going to talk to anybody. I'll walk around and then pop back into my room and that'll be it for the night. No. All of a sudden, I become this social butterfly. I'm talking with everybody. People step into the elevator with me and I see they're wearing a badge. I'm like, are you a podcaster or are you a vendor? And they go, oh, I'm a podcaster and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what's your podcast about? Mine is this and this. And then we talk and blah, blah, blah. I met a guy comes in the elevator with me. I go, are you a podcaster or a vendor? He's like, I'm a vendor. I'm like, what do you do? Blah, blah, blah. Well, we wound up talking the whole time in the elevator till we got down to the floor. And I'm like, hey, you want to catch lunch with me? He's like, yeah. So we wound up walking around. We walked outside and walked back in, wound up sitting and we just started talking and I'm like, before I even had a chance to pay for my lunch, he's like, no, I'm paying for your lunch. And then I'm talking with one of the creators of the conference. I'm like, I came here thinking I'd be the social butterfly, not say anything. And then I am talking with everybody. He's like, that's because you're in a room with people who are like-minded like you, who share the same interest, who have the same passion. You become more open because you're sharing the same passion as others. This is why you are the way you are here, is because everyone shares the same thing. And it just blew my mind. And then even there was somebody there who was not part of my conference. I'm standing at this restaurant in my hotel looking at the menu, and then he walks up looking, and I just turn to him. I go, you want to have dinner with me? You want to? He's like, sure. And we wound up sitting down and talking and learning about each other, and that was that. Hell, even at the elevator bay, we're all it's at the end of the day, and then we're all gathering at the elevators, and I crack a joke about which elevator bay is going to open first, one, two, or three, and everyone just broke up laughing.
Yeah, that's it. That's because, and this is why for me, and I don't mean to upset anybody, it's just me. I'm not hanging around Asperger's groups on Facebook. I'm hanging around. For me, it's musicians. I'm hanging around people that love the Fender Telecaster like me. You know, that's where I'm going. I'm not using my disease or ailment as a crutch. I'm using it as a superpower. Here's my Mustang. Here's what I've just bought. You get into them groups and you start coming out yourself because you're not all concentrating on what you can't do. You're concentrating on what you can do. And when you realize who you can be and how powerful you really are, the world becomes your oyster.
I mean, people need to realize that is don't use your disability as your crutch. You have so many when you're autistic, you have this given talent of hyper focusing on something you're passionate about. Don't mention you're autistic, say you're
Oh,
passionate about this and find that group. And
yes.
then you're going to find the like-minded people
I
because you're
think
going
I
to
think that's
realize,
it. Hey, Reed, what a great question. What a great, yeah, I think that's it. We concentrate on, the cars, the guitars, join them kind of groups. Don't be joining. And again, if this is not you, don't worry. I'm just very blunt. Uh, Stop joining support groups. So, join support groups that teach you about guitars or cars or
yeah,
houses or whatever your stamps, join that group. Yeah, you don't need to be, and again, I'm not casting everybody,
no.
but you don't need to be in a group where you're constantly talking about your ailment. A friend of mine's just recovered from cancer. She had to go to the cancer hospital every day for about 3 months. So after it has all been all gone, she was great, diagnosed free, cancer free. I said to her a week after, have you been back to the cancer place? And she said, what? Why would I go back to the cancer place? And I said, right, but that's what people do. They keep going back and that ailment that they could, release, they keep going back and being
Yeah.
reminded that here's what we can't do as autistic or addict. This is what we can't. What about the things you can do?
Hmm.
I don't announce myself an alcoholic today. No freaking way.
No.
I do not label myself. I am not an alcoholic. I'm someone who had a drink problem, but it's gone. And once you get that mindset, again, we become very powerful people, man.
I mean, I totally
Oh,
get you. I totally get you. And for those listening, I want you to know this is only my opinion as well. Why do you want to be part of a group that reminds you of your disability?
yeah,
The people that are members of these groups, all I hear about is them talking about, oh, my poor son this, or my poor son that, or my poor daughter. No, I don't want to hear about this and this, and I don't want to hear people whining or asking for help. I don't need, if you want help, you go to the right people. You don't ask people in the group because they can't help you. They're not professionals. They're just people like you.
yeah.
You
And
want,
it's like that they often say, well, I go there because there's like-minded people. Find new like-minded people about your sports, your you know, your goals, your ambitions, what you in. Find them people, man, because you're gonna get stuck. It's like AA rooms. You're gonna get stuck, keep going back, and you're listening to these guys, these 45, 50, 60-year-old guys who's been sober for 20 years who are not a real alcoholic talking about crap. So like how he had a bad day, and, but why, guys? Why did you keep going back? They're not your like-minded people. Get in there, obviously read the book, get through the steps if you're an AA guy, and then go once a month or something. But hang around like-minded people in other ways than your disease, and you will recover a lot quicker.
now let's talk a little bit about families for a minute. Families sometimes struggle to understand autism and addiction. On top of it, it can feel overwhelming. What advice would you give to families who want to support their loved ones?
So here's what we found in general with addictions and ailments is, it's twofold. Once the family, anybody over the 18, uh, once the family takes part in the addiction guide recovery, the success rate goes up by 42%. But it's not how people think it is. Normal treatment centers, they'll bring the family in, they'll sit in front of the patient, and they're all, well, dad does this and that. That's not helping anybody, man. You, a parent who's going through this with their child, you're suffering from PTSD. And if you don't heal you, this will never go away from your house. So any kind of recovery has a different language than we do. So let's say your house speaks English and you go into a treatment center and you learn Spanish because it recovers a different language. 3 months, and then you go back being put back in the English speaking house. Guess what? You're going to start speaking English again. So both parties have to do their own work. So I know with addiction, we did tests on uh, women in violent alcoholic houses, and we did tests on PTSD from soldiers just coming back from Afghanistan. And the PTSD levels were exactly the same. What we don't realize, because it's just family. No, we've all got to work on yourself, guys. You're all going to get well, and stop using stuff as a crutch. And I'll say this as well. Like, I'm talking about medications. I'm only talking about psych. I'm talking about behavior and being blunt. I'm only talking about the topic we talk about. So I don't want you to think for a second that I know it all or I'm God and stuff. No, I'm not, man. I am no smarter than anybody else listening to this. I'm just older. So I've had more time to research and study and stuff like that. But we definitely found out that mindset rules the world.
Now, would you say family system coaching is even more critical when autism is part of the equation?
100%. We will not, if we take a patient on suffering with an ailment, if say they're married with two young kids, if they come to us, then the wife needs to come on board for 2 days. They do 7 days for 90 days every single day. They have to come on for 2 days to work on that stuff. If they don't, we will not take the patient on. So it's vital that we use the family systems unit to get well and move on as a family rather than the patient getting healed, but the family don't understand what's going on.
Now, without breaking any confidentiality, can you share a story where your approach made a big difference for high functioning autistic clients or client?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a few. Obviously, we've had thousands of addicted personalities in and alcoholics and stuff like that. it's hard to say one without giving away, who they are. But for me, anybody that gets well and the family gets well is a success story and is an amazing story. We've had politicians, we've had all kinds of government agencies in, and then later on, the families have been reunited and they're on TV coming out with some kind of amazing law or something, or doing some great stuff with kids, and that right there does it. I mean, the famous guys I work with, probably all the guys that suffer from addiction and stuff all have all worked through me usually. But that's just me working, man. When I see somebody going back and giving that shit away that we taught them, that is the one that always I remember, and the most successful guys, the guys that pass this stuff on that we teach them.
Now, what red flags would families or professionals look out for when it comes to autistic individuals possibly self-medicating?
We've got to look at behavior first of all. If behavior changes at all, unkempt looks, not shaving, stuff like that, not bathing, not turning up for family dinners. We used to sit down for dinner every night, watch for that isolation. They're the four big ones. And if anything changes, the most important thing I'm going to tell you today, guys, if anything changes in the four things I mentioned, you have to start dialogue. Start dialogue early. If there's Asperger's, addiction, alcoholism in the family, have that conversation. That's all. Don't get too deep. But if I was aware that there was alcoholism rife in my family, I may have taken a different, who knows? I mean, I don't know, but it's never too early just to start dialogue. Doesn't even have to be about the disease or ailment. It just has to be, why is your behavior changed? Are you doing okay? You can come to me and talk about anything. And it's just that family or friends communication that you are there for them, no matter what they're going through. It's going to be okay. Hate to spoil the ending for most of you out there, but it's going to be okay. It usually is. And build that trust again with them.
Now, do recovery times look different for autistic clients, or do you measure success in the same way you would with anyone else?
We kind of bunk everything in one, because most people that come to us with one ailment suffer from the other. So because of the situation that they're in. So yeah, it's all the same. We measure them. I don't care what ailment you have. I don't care if it's, I don't know, I was going to say, no, I can't say it. Whatever ailment, you're treated the same, you'll act the same, you'll be discharged the same after 90 days, and you'll do the same as every other 11,500 patients. Is you'll get your freaking life back, you'll get your feelings back, you'll realize how powerful you are, and you realize that your ailment is not your label, it's not who you are, it's who you were. That's the big difference. Let me ask you one question, guys, and I'll leave you with this. What is your identity? If you
That's
can
so
get right now and write that down, it's awesome. But I bet many of you don't. We try this all the time. When I eat in restaurants, I'm the guy, because I was homeless and I died twice on the streets, I lost my children. I'm the guy that goes in a restaurant, I eat, and when the waitress brings the check over, and let's say it's $100 for instance, I say, give me a second, and I turn the check towards her, and I look at the gratuity or the tip line, and I say to them, what am I putting there? And they usually go, oh, I mean, it's sometimes it's just 15%. I mean, we go, stop. What's your worth? What's your worth working? You think your worth is any less than anybody in here? How much am I putting there? And in the end, we get them up to $100 if we can. Most people shy away. You've got to know your worth, guys. If you're starting a company, what's your worth? Oh, I'm on $15 an hour. I want to be on what's your worth, not what you were suffering from or still suffering from, or you were suffering from.
That reminds me of a really good story about a friend of mine. He was looking for work and trying to get a job. He just lost his last job. And I'm like, listen, when you're applying for work, I told him, listen, you got to figure out what you're worth to to these employers. And that's what you put down of what you want paid. If you were getting paid $28 and you know that's what you were worth from that last company, you put that down because that's what you were worth. That's what your time is worth to you. So when a company says, okay, what would you like to be paid? Don't hem and haw and try to don't lowball yourself. You put down what you feel you're worth, what your time is worth, and what you value your own self.
Powerful. You know, it really is powerful because, you know, when I first came to this country, I was working for, you know, very low amount of money an hour. And somebody said to me, no one's coming to you, Dr. Robb, because they think you're too cheap and you mustn't really good. So we something like quadrupled my hourly rate, and we were absolutely sold out within like 2 or 3 weeks. We couldn't take any more patients on. So look at your background, look at your training, look at your confidence, look at what you're worth, what do you bring to the table. You know, what do you bring? Well, I bring experience, I bring confidence, I bring 10 years of doing this job, 15 years training for this job. Can you put an hourly rate on that? Well, not really, but you know, it's going rate and then double it. And this all gives you confidence and the ability to build bigger and create empires. People are not taught to build businesses here. They are taught to build empire. Why would you build a business? Somebody with a business card and a website is a businessman. Somebody who built empires is somebody who's got over a disease or ailment. They've got nothing to lose. Nothing to lose. What's the worst can happen? Well, I might get rejected. Go and talk to the Beatles. Go and talk to J.K. Rowling. Do you know how many times they got rejected? Every time you think you've got rejected, learn from that situation, and the next one will be better.
I mean, people need to learn rejection and failure is a learning experience. That's all.
Definitely.
Take it with it and take with what you got from that and then bring it to the next and figure, okay, if they rejected me, keep going. I mean, there's an old saying, if you have 10 girls, kiss each girl, all of them are going to slap you but one.
Yes. Yes.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the big picture. If you could change one thing about how the addiction recovery field approaches autistic individuals, what would it be?
Stop concentrating on the drugs. Stop concentrating on the alcohol. Alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism, same with drug addiction and everything else. It's not the disease. The disease centers in our mind, not what we take for that.
All right. Looking ahead, what role do you think coaching versus strictly clinical treatment will play in supporting neurodivergent people in recovery?
Clinical treatment is very confined to what you can and can't do. It's as simple as that. I take coaching over any license, anything like that. I turned my license in about 3 years ago because we were doing things that Texas psychology board did not like. I don't care. Well, give me my license back. How's that? Because you can't work with somebody with restraints on you. The model of doing that is broken. It was broken 20 years ago. You know, there has to be life experience. So if you're trying to heal or talk to somebody with addiction problems, if you haven't had addiction problems, you cannot help. Now, if you have heart problems, I'm not talking about addiction, psych, if you haven't gone through it, you cannot help anybody because you don't know how their mindset works. You can't explain it, you have to go through it and therefore coach them.
And finally, where can people find out more about you and what you do online?
So if you're listening, guys, not watching, I spell my name with 2 B's. It's ROBBKELLY.com. Jump on there, you'll see our foundation on there and all the other great stuff. I have 4 businesses, including a restaurant, a British restaurant that I run. So come and say hi. You know, come and Google us, come and press out whatever you want on that stream. But I'll tell you one thing right now is, I don't do this to a lot of podcasts, but I'll do it to this. There's a book out there that I wrote. It's the last thing my daughter said to me 30 years ago was, Daddy, please stop drinking. Don't go buy it on Amazon. Get hold and read it myself. I'll sign it in the US only. I'll sign it I'll to you and everything. I'll ship it free and everything, and you'll get it. Have a read of it. And then this is the condition. I'm sending it to you free. For one, because this is a freaking amazing show. And secondly, you have to pass it on to somebody else so they can have a free read of it. Yeah, Daddy, please stop drinking. Don't buy it off Amazon. Come see us.
And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Reed Miles. That was Dr. Robb Kelly, and I'll see you in the next one. And remember, you're never alone. Thank you, Dr. Robb.
Thank you, man.